The first Martian explorers have returned with a wonder metal named Olympium. It's time to begin Migration Mars. Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio Awesome. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Katie, and today we're going to be taking a look at Migration Mars. It is a 2 to 4 player game by Enhanced Games about building up a civilization and populating Mars. Now we are going to be taking a look at prototype components.
Each player has their own civilization and buildings that they are trying to get out on the board. These different buildings might give you extra resources or the ability to trade out your unwanted resources for other stuff that you do want to use, or even population.
The player on their turn can buy a building or trade resources with another player. Each building has different costs and produce different rewards. Some buildings even have continuing operation costs.
The buildings do have restrictions, though, on how close they can be built to other types of structures. Each habitat, for instance, has to be directly connected to a life support module, and production buildings, they all have to be separated by tunnels. This can really limit the building spaces in 4-player games.
The game is pushed along, really, by the movement of rovers that move around the board on a track. At the end of a turn, a player will roll a die and then move their rover that many spaces. The space that is landed on will be the resource that is collected. There are also spaces that can make you draw an event card, and there's things like alien ruin spaces that give you a wild resource, that Olympium we were talking about, and then a chance to roll for other events that might happen.
When you make it back around the board to your supply stop, you will have to pay the upkeep costs of mines and habitats. After that, you are able to collect the resources from the buildings you have out on the board, one supply of your choice, and, if possible, you can add a population flag to a location that you have ready for it. At the end of the supply stop, you draw an event card.
Now, event cards can really shake up the game. It can make you pay a resource, or it can give you extra resources, or it can give you a choice on where a meteoroid is going to hit the planet. Now, meteoroids are a way to slow down your opponent. You can destroy a building or an open space, so they have to spend resources to get that space or building back operational again.
The goal of the game is to be the first to get 6 population, and the game ends when a single player is able to achieve that goal and survive the event afterwards.
Yeah, so this game has a real feeling of just being pushed along mostly by the rolls that you make and trying to collect those resources in your land rover. As you move around that board, you usually think of rolling like high numbers is better, but when you're trying to collect those resources, the more spaces you stop on, the more resources you have built up before you get back around to supply phase or the supply stop where you have to pay for buildings that you already own. So Sometimes you can really cut it close, or if you can't pay for those, like a mine, you have to take it off the board, and it's not operational until you're able to buy it again. So you have to really balance that out. You have to really, it's so easy to get caught with not enough cards.
I did like that balance of, I kind of want low numbers so I get more resources, but I also kind of want high numbers so I can get my population faster.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that there was that tug between the two ways you might roll. I also liked that there was a tug between, you can't border your buildings on another person's buildings, but the game encourages you to build out towards the other players because there's an embassy in the middle with a free population location for you to connect with. So it does encourage you to branch out and move towards your opponents. You're kind of weighing how concentrated should my base be, or how spread out do I want to be? Do I want to get in other people's ways? I thought it made some really interesting choices there.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot more player interaction in the 3 to 4 player game. You have a lot less space. You're a lot more crowded in the 4 player game, so real estate's a lot more, you're like trying to grab that up a lot faster. Also, with the events and the meteoroids coming in, you can really, that's where you get a lot of your player interaction, because you can be smashing their buildings. We played, and I was really nice to Ryan and only had close misses with his ass.
I never got to do any meteor strikes.
I know. I was the one that did them all.
Meteoring me all the time. It was very frustrating.
And then he got close to winning. I had to actually hit and kill some of his population. Don't tell anybody.
But there was still... They offer you a lot of opportunities to recover. So if you've prepared, you can mitigate some of the damage that meteor strikes will do to you.
That's true.
And the game does also present opportunities with how you are playing. You can either focus on the mines or the hospitals and that sort of thing, or your habitats, and you got to weigh out. Am I going to make a bunch of habitats so I have all the population right away and just make myself a huge target for other people? Or am I going to wait and focus on my resources so that I'm ready to bring out those habitats at the right time? And maybe you come back to your supply stop and you don't have enough habitats ready, or you just had your last habitat destroyed. So you got to really weigh those choices, like how prepared do I want to be? How do I want to pace myself in the game?
Yeah. So, I was going to say, I ended up trying to, like, store up a bunch of stuff just in case. And Ryan tended to, like, spend everything. So we went about it 2 really different ways.
Yeah.
And we actually had a really close game.
Yeah, sometimes the event cards will make you lose a supply or resource card. And then other times they will penalize you if you don't have a supply or resource card to spend. So you got to balance, how much resources or supplies you're keeping on hand versus putting back into your buildings.
Overall, this is a pretty strategy light game, although there are some really interesting choices that you have to make with the cards and the resources and that sort of thing, how you're going to build out. But overall, fairly light strategy game. I think it's something that even kids might enjoy.
Yeah. If this sounds of interest to you, definitely check out Migration Mars on Kickstarter, and be sure to stay tuned to our channel for more videos like this one.
An asteroid is going to hit.
Meteoroid.
Meteoroid?
I think it's a meteor.
Oh.
Hopefully it's not an asteroid. Asteroids will blow the whole planet up.
Oh, okay.
Meteor strike.
Meteor strike. We'll go with that. Ooh, look how glittery I am. Do I look special? Special glittery?
Shimmer, shimmer.